The objective of the test is straightforward. One must reach the magic tower at the end of this road. However, there are numerous traps and moving obstacles set up along the way. There are also unknown monsters. At the end of the road, there is an enormous black lion that guards the gates of the magic tower. You succeed if you defeat the lion, or slip past it and get to the entrance of the tower. The person gets only 5 chances. As Do-hyuk makes his way towards the magic tower, he succumbs to a trap. The system notifies him he has 4 tries remaining. Do-hyuk falls victim to the unknown monsters along the way. He now has 3 tries remaining. This time, Do-hyuk is able to reach the black lion, but he ends up falling off the bridge. He now has 2 tries remaining. Do-hyuk falls prey to the black lion, and he is defeated again. He now has 1 attempt remaining. Do-hyuk is panting with exhaustion upon his revival. He is completely startled by what he just experienced. It was almost all too real. He falls to the ground, as he thinks about what it was like to be eaten alive. He wonders if this is a test that he can pass. He knows how to get past the traps and defeat the monsters on the way to the tower. However, the black lion is on a different level. He realizes that he can't defeat it with his current powers. Berhard approaches Do-hyuk and calls out to him, and Do-hyuk answers him. Berhard tells Do-hyuk to not be afraid of new challenges. Do-hyuk asks him what he means, and Berhard says that is all he can tell him. As Berhard walks away, Do-hyuk begins thinking about what he just told him. New challenges. He wonders if there's another path to completing the test. He looks towards the tower, and sees that the path that lies before him is still the same. Falling off either side of the bridge leads to death. He turns his head to look behind him, and wonders about the back. And then, he notices something. He wonders what the wall is doing there. Except for the one path leading towards the magic tower, everywhere else around it should be a bottomless pit. So, why is there a wall behind the starting line? He grins, as he recalls a memorable character in a movie he once watched. The character in that movie was someone who thought outside the box. Do-hyuk is thinking about how he should be just like him. Feeling inspired, he says, "Let's do this." He begins running. He thinks about what Berhard told him. Don't be afraid of new challenges. He activates haste to boost his speed. He launches himself towards the wall. As he approaches the wall, he doesn't stop running. Instead, he runs through it. Do-hyuk suddenly finds himself running inside a parallel dimension. As he makes his way towards the magic tower, he is surprised to see Berhard up ahead. Do-hyuk runs past Berhard unnoticed, and he wonders if it's because he is not actually present in this dimension. Back in the test arena, Berhard is watching Do-hyuk. So is the black lion. Do-hyuk continues running when he sees the black lion. He wonders if this one is different, and if he will be able to get through this time. And then suddenly, the black lion materializes into a physical form. Do-hyuk is on high alert. The black lion begins to attack. Do-hyuk reacts quickly, and he initiates a spell, Death in a dazzling array of colors. The parallel dimension begins to shatter when the black lion attacks. They are now back in the test arena. Do-hyuk activates Color Spray, a spell that blocks the target's field of vision, and can cause conditional fainting with long exposure. Do-hyuk quickly jumps on top of a lamp post. He then takes a big leap, thinking he can get past the black lion from above. He stretches out his arm, as he tries to reach the entrance of the magic tower. The system notifies him that he has passed Berhard's test. When Do-hyuk opens his eyes, he finds himself lying on the ground and looking towards the sky. He quickly sits up, asking about what happened to the test. Berhard tells him not to worry, and he lets him know that he passed the test. He tells Do-hyuk that he's the first person to pass his test, and he liked how he thought outside the box and tried something new. Do-hyuk thanks him, and he tells him his advice opened his eyes to consider as all of his surroundings. Berhard tells Do Hyuk it's a general advice that he's given to all the other challengers. He then tells him that he will give him a blessing as a reward for passing the tests. He asks him which of his artifacts is the most precious to him right now. Do Hyuk tells him it's this ring, the Ring of Faith and Light. The unique grade artifact that increases wisdom by 100, luck by 50, and magic defenses by 50. Berhard says, with the blessings from God, he will raise the rank of this artifact by 1 level. He tells him that this ring will exclusively belong to him, and although it may seem like a downside, it will come with a blessing. Do Hyuk asks him what the effect of the blessing is. Berhard tells him that he would no longer be required to say the spell incantation to use its magic. He then asks him if he accepts. Without hesitation, Do Hyuk says of course, and he tells him that there could be no greater reward than this. Berhard says alright, and he proceeds with the blessing. He touches Do Hyuk's ring with his staff, and a magic circle on the ground appears. The magic circle grows larger and expands past the bridge. Do Hyuk is smiling with excitement. He is wowed by Berhard's magical powers. The ring begins to transform. Inscriptions of the blessing appear and surround the ring, as it reassimilates back to its original shape. Moments later, a legend rank artifact is born. The Ring of Faith and Light is now a legend rank artifact. It increases wisdom by 250, magic by 500, luck by 125, and magic defenses by 125. In addition, it restores magic by 2 units every second. It also allows the wearer to store 125 units of magic and sources of lights nearby, as reserves. As long as Deus's blessing remains, magic can be used without reciting the spells. As the ring falls into his hands, Do Hyuk is thinking about how this is his first legend rank artifact. Berhard asks Do Hyuk what he thinks about the ring, and if he is satisfied with his reward. Do Hyuk is absolutely thrilled. He tells him that this is beyond expectations, and that it's a huge game changer for him. Berhard is glad to hear. He tells Do Hyuk it's time for him to send him back. Do Hyuk asks Berhard if this is goodbye forever. Berhard takes a moment to gaze at the sky. He tells him that there might come a day when their worlds join together. When that day comes, they will meet again. Do Hyuk tells him that he sees. However, he feels a little disappointed, because he didn't have a chance to spend time together and talk. Berhard tells Do Hyuk he just realized that he doesn't know his name. He tells him his name is Do Hyuk Park. After Do Hyuk leaves, Berhard says his name out loud, and he tells himself that he will make sure to remember that name. He then says goodbye, and he remarks that he hasn't had an enjoyable experience like this in a while. Do Hyuk is back in the dungeon, and he asks Sungmi if he understands her correctly. It's only been 30 minutes since he's been away, and when she came looking for him, he suddenly appeared from a distortion within space. Sungmi is in the middle of fighting off a breastplate troll. She says yes, and she tells him that she's glad he is safe. Another troll approaches Sungmi to attack her from behind. She quickly ducks down to dodge the troll's attack. Akron suddenly appears, and he rams right into one of the trolls. He sends the troll flying across the cave and crashing into the wall. This is the first time Sungmi has seen Akron in his new form. She thinks Do Hyuk's golem looks a bit different, and she wonders if it has become stronger. Do Hyuk suddenly calls out to Sungmi, and he tells her to watch out. He quickly activates Fireball. He then activates Acid Arrow and Magic Missile. And then, he fires all 3 spells together at the troll. Sungmi uses her shield to take cover from the powerful blast of Do Hyuk's attack. After the blast clears, she sees the troll standing in front of her is burnt to a crisp. She watches the troll's body fall to the ground, with curiosity. She knows that her tanker abilities are the same as usual. However, she thinks there is something different about Do Hyuk. His spells seem much more powerful than before. Also, he no longer is saying the incantations to activate them. She looks at Do-hyuk, wondering about him. What happened to him in the 30 minutes he was away? Do-hyuk tells Song-mi that they should keep going. The next day, Do-hyuk is at the Blue Star Tower to meet with the guild master. He thinks about how lucky he is to have met Berhard. Not only did he gain a legend rank ring, but he also acquired the spell instructions for flame arrows. Dewey asks Do-hyuk about how he feels working with Song-mi. She mentions that according to the guild report, Song-mi has been focusing on C-rank dungeons these days. Do-hyuk tells Dewey that he is very satisfied with working with Song-mi. He likes the fact that she trusts him. Dewey tells him that Song-mi seems to be motivated, and that she even trains on her off days. Dewey asks Do-hyuk to take care of Song-mi. She may come across as a little unfriendly because of her upbringing, but she is actually cute. Do-hyuk tells Dewey that he is thankful for her partnering him up with Song-mi. Dewey switches topics to discuss why Do-hyuk is there to meet with her. She asks him what he wants to talk about. Do-hyuk tells her that there is something he wants to sell through the Blue Star Guild. Dewey asks him what it is. Do-hyuk places a scroll on the table. Dewey picks up the scroll, and she asks him what it is. Do-hyuk tells her it is the magic spell scroll for Identify. She asks him what Identify means. She questions if it means evaluate. Do-hyuk tells her that it means identify the actual characteristics of an object. In other words, it can reveal an object's hidden abilities. He goes on to give an example, and Dewey cuts him off. She tells him to hold on. She gets up and tells him that they should actually try it on an object. She tells him that she has a pretty useful sword on her desk. The white silver sword, a unique rank object that increases muscular strength by 150, increases agility by 150, plus by another 10%. In addition, it is imbued with a mysterious energy that makes the sword lighter. She says it is one of her favorite swords. Do-hyuk asks her if she knows what the stats of the sword are. Dewey tells him she's been using this sword for a long time, so she feels that she understands what its stats are. Do-hyuk unwinds the Identify scroll and holds it out to her. He tells her he will show her the power of the scroll now. He tears the scroll apart to activate the spell. He then grabs onto the sword, and the sword begins to glow. The dais system says it is identifying the equipment. Moments later, Do-hyuk says that it's done. He gives the sword to Dewey, and he tells her to check it out now. Dewey suddenly exclaims that she can't believe it. She is surprised to find that the sword has a new attribute. The white silver sword now also increases physical strength by 55. Do-hyuk tells her that is what Identify is. It uncovers the hidden powers of an artifact. Identify. It's a basic spell in DNF that almost all players use to evaluate their items. In the real world, there are still countless artifacts that have yet to be identified. There has not been one person who could identify the inherent attributes of an object that has not been appraised. That is until Do-hyuk Park became an awakened spellcaster. So many thoughts are running through Dewey's head. As guild master, she has seen countless talented awakened individuals. However, she has never seen one with such abilities. Do-hyuk asks her what she thinks. Dewey tells him to wait, because she needs some time to process her thoughts. She thinks the Identify magic spell scroll is an irreplaceable product. It's something that only Do-hyuk can make. Dewey asks him how many scrolls he can manufacture in a day. Do-hyuk tells her the most he can make is 120 in a day, and it is impossible to go beyond that. He also tells her that he wants to sign an exclusive agreement with the Blue Star Guild. The price per scroll will be set starting at 20 million won, about $15,000, and he will raise the price depending on the market response. Dewey tells him if they receive 10% of the profits, they will oversee all the sales and distributions for him. She asks him what he thinks. Do-hyuk tells her that it sounds reasonable, so he agrees. Dewey tells Do-hyuk that there will be great social repercussions. The identification scroll will shake the industry. Do-hyuk agrees, and he tells her that he is quite curious about what will happen as well. 5 days later, the identification scroll turned the world on its head. It has completely changed an Awakened's perception of artifacts. There were many incidents in which artifacts leveled up in rank and increased in ability. People began to view the identification spell in the same way as hitting the jackpot. Market prices of the scroll increased exponentially. The identification scroll manufacturer, Do-hyuk Park, became the focus of attention for various media outlets. He was invited by many to make television appearances, and he even had his own fan club. Beyond the masses, he has captured the attention of one woman in particular. She is very intrigued. She turns to talk to Dae-ho Choi, the deputy head of the Seoul branch of the KMAA. She asks him if it's been 5 days since the identification scroll has been on the market. Dae-ho Choi tells her she is correct. He also tells her that the price of the scroll was 20 million won, about $15,000, on the first day, and the scrolls are now being traded at 33 million won, about $25,000. She thanks him for the information. He remarks that he had no idea that the social stature of an Awakened could change like this in just a few days. The woman tells him that she thinks so too. Dae-ho Choi tells her that, if news of the identification scroll manufacturer leaks out abroad, there will definitely be some movement. He suggests that they make their move as soon as possible. The woman says that she heard Yunso has become somewhat of an acquaintance with Do-hyuk Park. She takes a moment to think. She then tells Dae-ho Choi to contact Yunso Lee, and have her try to arrange a meeting with Do-hyuk Park. Dae-ho Choi tells her yes, he will do that. Sometime later, Do-hyuk is thinking about his current situation. As he expected, he has gained greater influence on other Awakened now. His development as an Awakened is currently growing at a steady rate. In order for him to grow faster, he thinks that he needs to be active on the global stage. His plan was to use the identification scroll as a means to connect with a government agency. He now finds himself standing inside the KMAA Seoul office. Yunso Lee calls out to him. She asks him if he waited long. Do-hyuk tells her no because he just arrived. He was surprised to hear from her earlier. He didn't think the KMAA would be the first to reach out to him. Yunso Lee asks him if this is his first time visiting the KMAA Seoul office. Do-hyuk answers her yes, and he tells her that the Seoul office looks super busy. Yunso Lee tells him that they barely have time to rest. Reports and emergency calls regarding dungeons, guilds, and the Awakened all seem to find their way there. She walks up to the door of a conference room nearby, and directs Do-hyuk to it. Meanwhile, Dae-ho Choi and the woman are waiting inside the room. They hear someone knocking on the door, saying she is Yunso, and she is here with Do-hyuk Park. The woman tells her to come in. When Do-hyuk walks into the room, he sees that the head of the KMAA Seoul office is that woman. She tells Do-hyuk that she is sorry for calling him in, and making him come all the way there to meet them. She explains to him that there are too many prying eyes that could cause unwanted attention if she is seen outside, meeting with him. She then introduces herself to him. Her name is Jeonmi Cho, and she is the head of the KMAA Seoul office. Do-hyuk is feeling a little intimidated. These two individuals are Korea's SS rank Awakened. He's thinking, the pressure is really on now. Jeonmi Cho asks Do-hyuk if they should get to the point right away, and Do-hyuk affirms. She says okay then, and she begins. We at the KMAA believe you are a promising rising star who will represent Korea. Do-hyuk questions her, a rising star? Jeonmi Cho says yes, and she tells him that he can attack, defend, buff, manufacture a golem, manufacture spell scrolls, along with other things. Moreover, unlike other Awakened, who are good at just one thing, he has all of the talents. She tells him that there is only one thing the KMAA can say to such an awakened? Do Hyuk is beginning to feel concerned. He wonders if they are going to pressure him into something. He actually wanted to connect with the KMAA, but not like this. He won't allow himself to be pressured by them. The main reason why he signed on with the Blue Star Guild as a hired mercenary is because he didn't want to be controlled or be tied down. And then, Jang Mi-cho says, the KMAA will fully support and finance your dungeon fighting strategies, and other related ventures as well. Do Hyuk replies, I beg your pardon? He wonders, the state isn't pressuring him, but offering support? It's a twist that he didn't expect. Do Hyuk asks her what the reason is for their decision. Dae-ho Choi explains to him that it is not unusual. The KMAA has supported rising stars since the very beginning, to make sure their stars don't want to leave and go to another country. He continues to say that the KMAA was created to protect the state and its citizens, as well as preserve order among the awakened. It would be difficult to do these things if the country loses all of its talent. He then clarifies to Do Hyuk about their intentions. The KMAA is not trying to invest in him and get something in return. Do Hyuk remains silent as he takes a moment to process his thoughts. He then comes to a decision. He says, all right. I accept support from the KMAA.